Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Anthony here with the Podioslave podcast with Tony and Nate, as usual. And we have a very special guest that we're super stoked on. We have the one and only Scott Russo, founding member, lead vocalist from, I would say at this point, definitely legendary California punk rock band formed in 1990, so 30 years ago. Hard to believe. Founded in Poway, California. So, Scott, we want to thank you for coming on.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me.
So, Scott, I know one of the things on this podcast that we're always looking at is, what artists are doing in what we perceive to be the downtime with the quarantine. So just curious about how, the coronavirus and the quarantine has impacted you and the band and, any plans that you had.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine it's the same for every band, and all my friends are in bands at all as we discuss things. It's really all up in the air. No one has any idea when anyone will be able to get back to playing shows. And as far as, the collective group of friends who are in bands, and myself included, is, there's really nothing for us to do if you are a songwriter or a producer or whatever, except make music. So it's kind of, in some way, it's been pretty productive for me and definitely for Unwritten Law. We recorded our new record, Chrome and Glass, right before we left to Australia, and our tour was one of the third or fourth tour to actually compete in Australia. Came home for 3 days, went to Hawaii for 3 days to play a show, and came home, and then everyone was locked down. I mean, since then, we were kind of sitting on a finished recorded record, and while we were gone, we were having a drummer that mix it. And so when we got back, he had some, family struggles. He hadn't gotten to the record, so it's given him extra time. And then in addition, it's giving us extra time to really fucking tweak out and fine tune and put real bells and whistles on the record. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of been. I know a lot of people aren't doing so well right now, and definitely Unwritten Law is one of them too. But it could be worse. It's worse somewhere else for sure. And I've used this time to really focus on this record, quite honestly.
That's awesome. And then, like you said, it canceled a lot of touring plans. I know that I'm up here in Encinitas. I know you live in somewhere in the area. I believe Carlsbad, Scott. And you're in Mexico.
I'm actually in Mexico.
Oh, right on. Yeah, you're in Mexico right now. I forgot about that. And so yeah, that show got canceled because of COVID. That was coming right up. And then also the Australian tour that you had booked with Everclear, that's also canceled. That ticket in Australia.
No. We completed that. In February.
Oh, right on. So that was before you left. Okay. Or when you got
back.
Back.
That's what I was saying. That was what our tour was one of the last tours that had finished there. There was 4 other rock tours, or 3 other rock tours. I was the 4th one that actually was mid-tour when it happened, finished, and came home. All the other tours, when anyone else is out and about, everything got shut down. They had to cancel shows and come home. So that goes for the fucking entire community. What I'm saying? There wasn't any little shows here and then some side shows here. It was everyone go home. Pause. So
yeah.
It's trippy, man.
Yeah, right. I mean, we've all been stuck at home too, and living that same quarantine life right now. Speaking of Australia, then you guys have a big following there. Can you speak a little on that? How did that come about?
That's almost like a diss.
No, it's
man.
not. No, not a diss at all.
I'm fucking with you. No, man. You know what? This is what I think. I think our band came from. Because we get asked the same question from Australians in interviews there too. What's the connection with them? What's the deal? We don't know. We don't fucking know. But having been asked that question so many times, I've had to think about it. I'm like, well, fuck with it. It's because they are basically. Their country, their continent is a surf continent. All their cities are all based around on other coastal cities, and they're all surfers there. And our band came up in a real crazy time in action sports, surfing, and Southern California punk rock, or California West Coast punk rock, we'll call it, fuck it. And right at this time, 95, the Warped Tour hit, and it's these Taylor Steele fucking Momentum Focus tours or videos hit, and this music, it just started blowing, like happening here, and it was fresh and it was exciting, and all these things combined really had an impact kind of globally. I think Australians in particular are more set to that beach surf culture, and that's definitely where we came up. You know what I'm saying? And so,
yep.
I can only imagine that had a lot to do with it. And other than that, we've just stayed loyal to Australia. We've always, kind of put them first, and really, like, fucking nurtured that relationship, because we love Australia. Australians are the fucking great. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
And so if the feeling's genuine, I'm quite sure they can pick it up, and I'm quite sure that's another reason why it's had, we've had an impact there.
Yeah, and I asked that just because we're kind of the semi-opposite side of the world. All three of us come from the state of Maine. I don't know if you've been there, but we're waiting for that band to adopt us as their community. You know what I mean?
Sure. I mean, I'm sure there's great bands everywhere, dude. I guess now it's a lot easier because of, fucking social media and the internet, but there's great bands everywhere that will get overlooked because they're from places that aren't highly populated or don't have fucking a connection to anything that can really get them out there. But, I'm sure there's people that fuck it up. I mean,
it's interesting you say that, because I know we've talked on this podcast. We kind of debate if it's easier in this era or, perhaps in the era that you guys came up in, which is early 90s. So it's interesting, it's certainly social media, but also it's an outlet for more bands to be seen. So it's perhaps in a ways more saturated. So it's a unique perspective for sure.
That is an interesting way to think about it. Yeah. Oversaturation would definitely be there. However, if you truly are the shit, you will sift through all that saturation. You know what I'm saying? And so if you do have whatever it is, you're going to come through, especially now with all the platforms to make it available. I thought about this the other day. When we happened, the reason like kind of bands from our era can tour to this day, is because when this whole thing, like I was just saying about the Taylor Steele thing happened and Warped Tour and the whole thing, the punk movement happened, it was an actual movement. It was kind of like the grunge movement or, hair metal. It was a movement, and there hasn't really been, you've had screamo, and you've had, trap, and you've had a couple things, folk and a couple things since then, but there hasn't been like a real, like, fuck it, this is it. This is the music that speaks for the fucking culture globally. There hasn't been that in a while.
No, I think you're right. I think it comes from pockets of the country and, certain eras, like you said, grunge and trap and whatnot. But you mentioned something interesting, which is, if you're the shit, you'll make it. So one of the things that we were curious about is, so you start in the early 90s, and we looked up some tour history. You played shows with Millions of Dead Cops, MDC, Circle Jerks. So how do you guys go from those early beginnings to, your major label debut, like in '96? So there's 6 years there, which obviously tells me you guys gained a lot of momentum. How does that happen? Because that doesn't happen for a lot of bands. There's so many bands that come and go.
Yeah, like I said, when we started, there wasn't like all these epitaph bands, and if you're familiar with that, it's like this whole like punk scene that Brett Gurlitt started. And there was Bad Religion. That's all you had. Before that, you had Misfits, and you had like TSOL, and you had 7 Seconds with Melody, and you had Bad Brains with Melody and reggae, and you had these and Minor Threat. And there wasn't like these Pennywises and NoFXs and Offsprings and shit. Like, they had started, but no one had heard of them yet. And so, and same thing with us. It's like we were just fans of Bad Religion. There was no other band that sounded like Bad Religion. It was just Bad Religion. And we wanted to kind of we were kids. There was no, punk rock wasn't a thing either. So we just kind of wanted to play music we wanted to hear, and fucking take everything that comes with it. Girls and drinks and whatever else. There was no plan of making this a career or anything like that. And then punk rock happened, and so that 6 years was just like an underground scene. It was a scene for all of these bands. Green Day was had Blink, Offspring. Everyone was there, but they were in their own little scenes, and we were San Diego. And us and Blink were San Diego in the scene. you had Offspring and Bad Religion from LA. You had NoFX from San Francisco. You had Pennywise from Hermosa Beach. And so, like, the whole shit was just kind of boiling and waiting. And when all the stars aligned in '96, whatever it was, those kids, those people had kind of established themselves as punkers. And this is a scene. This is our scene, to be exact. This is our thing. And when all the stars aligned in '96, and then just 1, 2, 3, 4, they all started going big. It was just a thing. It was a moment in music history.
Wow. Speaking of that, we were just thinking like the bands that came into San Diego, and like you said, it was primarily Unwritten Law and Blink-182 that sifted through everything and kind of rise to the top. And we were listening to that, that secret song or Message with Tom from Blink. Did you ever consider getting Tom on a track after the evolution?
No, the record was already done. Mm-hmm. No. The record was already done at that point when Tom left the message. And hence that's what the message is, like, yo, man. And that's the fucking funny thing, too. It's like, Wade just gave me this fucking the demo, and it's like, dude, no one's supposed to have that. Like, Wade is that guy. Just gives shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? We can't even give him the new shit because it'll be on the internet tonight. And so it's like Tom actually says it in there, but the record has already been done and mixed and all that kind of shit during that time. And so when we were mastering it, we just threw in, we wanted to put little fucking ins and outs, so that was one of them.
So yeah, did you ever have him on any other track or any other record for Unwritten Law, or are you guys just kind of boys?
No, I think that was one thing we used. Like I sang on like 3 songs on Dude Ranch, but I'm not sure. Blink never played on any of our records.
What songs on Dude Ranch?
Everyone else in the world did. I have to pull up the record. I know one of them was My Girlfriend, like DHC, whatever that song is, and there's 2 more that I just do. You'll hear it, like me. You have Mark's voice, which is obvious, and you have Tom's, which is obvious. Well, the 3rd voice on that record, that's me.
So, oh shit!
You heard it first
awesome.
here. Yeah,
I had no idea. So I got a question for you, Scott.
Yeah.
Just we were talking, we were going through this last week, listening to old records, and the 3 of us kind of grew up with your major label debut, and then your self-titled. And self-titled, I mean, I wore that out. I still listen. I come back to that. I don't even know, probably 2, 3, 4 times a year to this day. And just thoughts about like how you guys started as you're punk, and then you kind of got into. You got a little more of the pop sensibility and the Elva record, and then there are parts of Elva that have some heaviness, and then Here's to the Morning has more of that heaviness. I love the evolution of your sound as time has gone on.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, basically what happened was, like I was telling you, is we've been making this music, and I think the band started it might have been, I think it was '89 is when we started. It's been a fucking long time. But, by the time 96 had come around and, we'd playing this song's music for a long time. And then all of a sudden, every band, like I said, Epitaph happened, Epitaph record label happened, and Fat Records happened. And then every fucking band sounded the same. Like it just got, that shit got saturated. And to me, personally, that really, took the punk out of it. You know what I'm saying? It took everything. And I also was growing up as a human being too, so 6 years later, so that's a long time from 18 to 24, whatever it may be. That's it's a huge growth steps in there, especially, doing what we were doing. And I'd become a fan of other music. And so as everything got started sounding the same, I didn't want to sound like that. And it wasn't because I was afraid, I'm going to do the punk rock thing without it. It was just like, at this time also I started becoming a songwriter. And so it wasn't about trying to fucking, make that same record over and over and over again. For me, it's like, at this point in my life, it's like, I'm making music fucking for myself and for my friends and for my family. If I can give them a record without saying, without any disclaimers, I need to give you a fucking record to check this out. And have no disclaimers, then that, I feel like my job is done. And so really kind of gone into the writing process like that. Does that sound dope? My kid singing dope in 20 years. Okay, whatever. And so I think that had a lot to do with it. And like I said, again, I became a fan of different kinds of music, started writing and, subconsciously, if not consciously, putting that into the songwriting and production.
That's awesome. It actually makes sense. It's coming from an honest place, and you're just talking. You're writing stuff that's coming from the heart, and that's the kind of music that surfaces. Because as a fan and the people out there listening, they can kind of differentiate, what's real and what's kind of being produced, overproduced. Or we had Greg from Zebrahead on a few weeks ago, and he said, they had the producer coming in telling them to make a song that sounded like Sugar Ray Fly. You know what I mean? And they're like, "Damn, man!"
That was a great song.
It was.
It's a great song, but you know what I mean? They're kind of getting pushed in this direction when they already kind of had something going. But like you said, yeah, that is a great song, and it changed Sugar Ray forever in terms of commercial success with that single. So, give or take.
And in the same sentence, I'm not saying to write a song like Fly to get big or to get paid, because that shit almost 100% of the time never works. And so if you're going to write a song like that, it's got to come from somewhere where you mean that. You mean it, and you write it, and it sounds like that, it's going to be what Fly did. It's going to be it. So, I mean, there's the thing with Kaylin, the song Kaylin, and you were talking about the transition from more into a pop band. And this is kind of what's going on with that, with how the first initial change of Unwritten sound came is when we were recording the self-titled record. Our A&R didn't hear the single, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, "Yo, man, you got any of the songs? Cool, yeah, I got this. Okay, cool, yeah, it's not there. What else you got?" I'm like, "Well, yo," and I'd never even show my band this song. I played him, Kaylin, acoustically, right? I was playing these songs in my hotel, whatever, or wherever the fuck we were at, and he doing business. And so playing Kaylin, he's like, "Dude, that's it." I'm like, "Dude, my band can't play this. My band's a rock band. The song's a love song about my daughter. Like, they can't do it." He's like, "Dude, you mean it." And he kind of taught me this. You meant that. And it came from you, and your band is going to do it. And thank God that, I had Kaylin, and I wrote that song for her. Because if I didn't, Unwritten Law would have been dropped, because there was a single on the record, and our career would have been over. That song made it possible for us to tie it on to another record label, and then again and again for the rest of my life, and, as they went down the chain. So that's kind of where the change came, the first time, the initial, here's another side of Unwritten Law, was with the song Kaylin. When I played it for the band, ironically, they're like, "Dude, what the fuck, you had that song you didn't play for us?" Yeah, well, so they were super hyped too. So
yeah. Well, I mean, and that's an iconic Unwritten Law song. I mean, that obviously comes from a place of genuine and a place that is near and dear to your heart. We had talked a little bit pre-interview about your Kaylin, your daughter. Do you want to plug her artistry and all that stuff right now?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely check out my daughter. She's fucking mean. I'm quite sure that I'm slightly biased. She has fangs. She has daddy's fangs, man, and she out-gangsters daddy by 1 billion. Kaylin Russo, Cailin, RUSSO, at any platform, and check her out on Instagram, all that shit, whatever it is. But Spotify, spin that shit. She just had her new EP drop, like, I don't know, 3 months ago, called The Drama. And then she had a single called Assume drop about a month ago, and then about a week ago she had It's Cool drop. But she's dope, and she's done Lollapalooza, she's done the Reading Festival in London, she's done her work. She's toured the country a few times.
Nice.
She's out there, man. Check it out.
So every week I try to throw together a Spotify playlist for our, kind of as a companion to our talks, and we'll throw some Kaylin on there for sure.
So Scott, I know we were kind of leading into this. So the Kaylin comes in kind of your words, it saved you on the label and whatnot, and that's the era that we became fans. So then Elva comes out and Seeing Red. And I think I heard you in another interview that wasn't maybe your number one choice for a single, but that went number one on a lot of rock charts. And I know for us, it was like all our friends that maybe hadn't heard of you before now heard of you. And we were like, where you been? They've been great from the jump. It's just that was from a fan perspective, that was super cool to see.
Yeah, Sting Red, like Kalen did a lot for us. Sting Red did more for us. Quite honestly, it was number one for like 4 weeks in America. So it definitely, you know, it solidified whatever it is that had to be solidified, whatever that is. And yeah, when it wasn't my first choice of singles, like I literally wrote that song in 15 minutes from front to back with music and vocals.
Wow.
And it was like, you know, if you listen to the structure of it too, it's really fucking weird. It's not like pop. It's not, you know, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, exit. It's which is basically every fucking song you've ever heard. It's a verse, chorus, verse, which is really weird. No 3 choruses, 3 verses. It's fucking trippy. But you know, whatever it was, that song had impact. I think that the song was very dimensional. Like it had very small verses, and then it exploded in the choruses, which is kind of the trick that Kurt Cobain used with Nirvana, you know, in every song. And yeah, that song, like I said, came out very quickly. I wrote it about what my girl at the time thought about me, like from her perspective. Like that song's really about, and so it's such a narcissistic way. It's more about myself. From my girl.
Indirectly, yeah.
And yeah, fuck that. I remember when I wrote it too, like my guitar player at the time, Rob Brewer, was like, man, that song's Patience from Guns N' Roses. And I've literally never listened to a Guns N' Roses record ever. Of course I've heard the Patience song, of course I've heard like all their singles, but I fucking can't stand that band. And so like I'm sure they're perfectly nice people. I'm sure they're beautiful people, whatever the fuck ever. But I just can't, I just don't, just no. It's a fucking no for me, dog. Anyways, when he said it, I got really upset. I'm like, no, it's not. Who the fuck is like, he's like, at this point, I didn't even heard the song. I have no idea. But let it be known that the chord progression itself is nothing fucking that's been written 500 times before.
Nice. We were looking at that Elver record too, man, and we were kind of checking out the liner notes and stuff like that. You had like Josh Freese on songs like Up All Night. It's a killer jam. And then Tony Kanal from No Doubt on Rest of My Life. Were they kind of like label mates, or were they kind of helping to just like lay down some tracks for you, or what?
No, we've done shows. We've toured so much with No Doubt. We've done Australia with them, we did Europe with them, we played shows in the US with them.
Nice.
They were the homies. Adrian was trying to get into, obviously he'd been highly successful. They were highly successful at this time, with Tragic Kingdom had already happened. But he wanted to become that studio drummer. And so he had mentioned that to us. And at this time, you know, we had to ask Ray to take a break for a while. And Adrian wanted to come in. So we had Adrian play on 8 of the tracks. And then Tony Palermo, who's now in Papa Roach.
Mm-hmm.
We had hired him permanently. And so he came in and played the last 4 songs of the record. So he had a part of the record. So that's how Adrian came into the project. And then Josh Freese, well, you know, we were in the fucking studio recording the record, and the president of the label, Tom Wally, wanted Up All Night, and he wanted it like fucking yesterday. And so he called our producer. We called our producer Miguel from, you know, if you're familiar with fucking Skunk Records and the first 2 Sublime records, whatever.
Yep.
So Miguel's like, dude, fucking. I need Up All Night. I need it now. I'm using it for this, or whatever. So we had to put that song at the front of the tracking list. And we couldn't find Wade for 3 days. Wade, Tom Wally wants this fucking song. Couldn't find him. And inevitably we had to call Josh in. Like, hey man, need you with that one song to do it. Yeah, man, I'll be there in an hour. Comes down, literally listens to the song one time. Takes notes during that one time. Takes notes during that one time of listening to it. Okay, cool, let's do it. Not a conversation with me or with nothing, just nothing. Okay, let's do it. We're like, okay, cool. And so the first thing comes up, that drum fill, like that fucking drum fill. Every drummer we've had has not been able to figure out that drum fill. That's how fucked everybody's like, yeah, I'm
Damn.
gnarly drum fill. So even like when we were touring Australia this last time, we didn't get his visa in time, so we hired our bro Dan Kirby down there, and every time he had to see, he goes, every time I start Up All Night, man, I have to think about exactly what I do. I air do it in my head, and then I have to do it. And so like, really, is that nice? Like, yeah, it's the fucking weirdest stuff. Sorry, off subject, but getting back to the song, if the dude came in, listened to the song one time, took notes from that one time, he goes, let's do it. Took 3 passes of the song, shook our hands, and left. He had heard the shock and shock and was gone in under 45 minutes. It was insane.
That's crazy. He really is. He's like a master too. I've seen him play with A Perfect Circle, 9 Inch Nails, Sting, Sublime, like everything. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, he did.
So Scott, I know, like you said, started in 89, 90. A lot of those early shows were, SoCal punk shows and whatnot, and then, bigger tours over the years. I mean, we looked at them, huge festivals. Any favorite bands to play with or favorite locations to play?
Yeah, of course there are. Probably too many to name. I really enjoyed touring with No Doubt. I'm not gonna lie. I was happy every night. I was happy to see them every night.
Mm-hmm.
Watching Blink come up, that was really fun. Watching the whole thing happen. I think we were on tour at one point, and they were opening for us, and then they just kind of happened, and then we had to switch. They just blew up in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Damn.
And so it was really nice, like seeing Blink. I love watching my friends in Australia, Grinspoon, play. Great rock band, good people. For me, touring, especially doing it this long, isn't really about. I don't know. It's for me. It's like I don't want to tour like the internal United States anymore. I don't want to do certain things. I want to be happy when I tour. So I want to tour with fucking good people, with no drama, with family and friends, and I want to play places that I want to be. You know what I'm saying? And so that for me is really what I don't know what when we book tours now, those things come into play. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, absolutely.
And we get that for sure. Like Tony said, we're all originally from the Northeast. From New England, and we wouldn't get every tour. So hearing it from the other end from the musician's perspective of touring or places you want to go, we get it. We totally get it.
Well, and I'm going to be partially narcissistic right now and say the reason this podcast started was because I wanted to do it with my friends who I was cool with, and for us, not, you know what I mean? Like we were doing it for us, and we wanted to be around people we cared about. So that was, I get that.
That's what's up.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like you said, Tone, just doing it for us primarily, and then if it translates with other people and it, other people can identify with it, similar to what you're doing with music, Scott. It's coming from the heart, and people either gravitate towards it or not. And if they do, awesome. And if they don't, we don't really give a shit. So it's been real. We're with you there. New England's hard too. It's fucking cold in Maine, man.
Maine is cold.
Yeah, that's why you moved, Nate, right? You moved to SD.
Yeah, Encinitas, bro.
So Scott.
So Scott, I know we're running up against it here. You had about a half an hour. Anything else you want to plug? Anything you guys got coming up that maybe rescheduled or thoughts going out with new music?
Yeah. No, we're obviously going to reschedule the Anthony show. They get 2 or 3 more that have to be rescheduled, but we're just waiting for the record to come out. It was meant to come out in September, but it's done. It's called Chrome and Glass. Be on the lookout.
Nice.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, Scott, it's been really cool to watch you over the years with Unwritten Law, because even a lot of some of the bands we mentioned from that original era have come and gone. They've, for whatever reason. So it's cool to see kind of an OG band like yourself still at it and still drawing huge. I mean, I know some of those international tours are massive and those festivals. So it's a testament to you guys.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, so some of those festivals too, like in Australia. I mean, Soundwave Festival, Big Day Out. I know Big Day Out's no longer happening, but I used to watch that from over here. I have friends in Perth, and they were like, "Dude, you got to come down under and check out Big Day Out." I'm like, "Fucking, I wish, man. I want to get out there."
Yeah, that was the thing, dude. Big Day Out was fucking ridiculous. I remember we toured it, and I was like on tour with one of my Unwritten Law's sister band is a band called Russo from Australia. They're fucking massive in Australia. Nice. We brought them out here to support us because we love them so much, and it didn't translate here. But anyway, that particular Big Day Out that we did, it was like us, fucking Grinspoon, Sum 41, No Doubt, Green Day, Oasis. I'm like,
Wow.
But there's like all my favorite bands at the time, you know what I'm saying? So it was that festival. It was like, you know, Reading Festival or what would be. I know it's nothing like it really, quite honestly. It was a thing.
Wow. Would you ever move to Australia?
Yeah, of course. I'm sorry, the shit.
Yeah, I thought about it.
I've basically lived there, dude. I've been there almost 40 times, and I go there on vacation, and it's my second home for sure.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
I spent some time in New South Wales, outside of Sydney, and I saw some bands play, and it's just a audience and crowd that's hungry for music. I mean, like we said before, they're on an island. Like, they don't get a lot of bands coming over from the States, so I think when they really connect with a band, they come out. I mean, they drew massive crowds from the shows that I went to, which was super surprising until I really thought about it.
They're definitely rock fans there. They love music. You know what I'm saying? They're cool, straight up.
Yep.
Friends are cool.
Yeah, I've heard Dave Grohl from Foo Fighters interviewed. He's like, "What's your favorite place to play?" And he's been asked that a few times. I've seen him answer it, and every time he said, "Dude, Australia and New Zealand fucking draw crowds, and they're fucking badass." He said that they like trump anything in like South America, and those crowds are notoriously epic. Anything in North America, anything in Europe, he's like, it's all about Australia and New Zealand. I'm like, that's fucking sick.
Yeah, shit is wild there, dude. Straight up.
Nice. Yeah. Well, Scott, we want to thank you for coming on tonight. I know you got to get going, get a heart out. If there's anything else you want to hit, we can do it. But I think, you know, that's awesome, and we really appreciate you coming on the Podioslave podcast tonight.
Cool, man. Yeah, we did it. It was a thing. Cool.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys having me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Awesome, man.
All right, y'all. Take care.
You too, man.